Marco Zatterin, La Stampa. Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Je peux faire ça en français.
Good morning, President. If I may, I'd like to ask a question in French. You've already referred to unjustified criticism made yesterday, and you've asked us to be critical. Now, the Italian Prime Minister has kicked off, so I thought that would be good news. Are you intending to discuss with Mr. Renzi and Mr. Cameron to try to have a better dialogue between the Commission and the Member States? Because it doesn't seem to be working. Well, I don't have the impression that it's not working. But sometimes criticism is aimed at the Commission, and it's unjustified. To say that the Commission shouldn't interfere in areas which are part of economic coordination in Europe, to say that you're not going to accept lessons from bureaucrats, that's a way of describing the Commission which I'm not happy about. And I said to the European Parliament yesterday, I'm not head of a gang of bureaucrats. I'm the head of 28 political commissioners. We're not bureaucrats, we're not senior officials, we're political, and attempts to dismantle the Commission before it's even started work is something that we'll respond to. I have no particular quarrel with Mr. Renzi, and otherwise I have great appreciation of him. And I don't have a problem with David Cameron. He has a problem with the other prime ministers.
Matthew Dalton with the Wall Street Journal. A question about Ukraine. The situation in the East appears to be deteriorating. There were the local elections recently, and there is still fighting in Donetsk. What is your position on sanctions against Russia? Do you think that they're effective? Given that the situation does appear to be deteriorating, do you support adding sanctions at this point in time?
My impression is that the sanctions we have will remain where and as they are. It will depend on the development on the ground. If yes or no, there will be a broadening or a deepening of the sanctions. This is not a question to be answered today.
Herr Präsident, Sie haben Ihre Arbeitswoche.
You started your working week in Germany, not in Berlin, but in Frankfurt. When will you be off to Berlin? And what do you say about Angela Merkel's critical remarks?
At first.
Well, perhaps you could say a little bit more about that point about Angela Merkel. Well, what's she been saying? I don't know what you're talking about. Well, in the past, you have been exposed to criticism from the Chancellor, but you became, a candidate with her help, but she seemed to be, hesitant. Do you have her full support? I really didn't know you were such a talented speaker. I have every support from the Chancellor. I have every support from any number of sources, and I'm not going to respond to such, promptings, really. I mean, criticism for criticism's sake isn't really relevant. But I'm quite resistant to that sort of thing.
So, Christian.
Oui, Christian Spielmann de l'AFP, Monsieur Juncker. Hier, devant le...
Yesterday, in the Parliament, when you were talking about the adjustment programme, and I quote, you say, I don't know what this investment programme is going to contain. Well, yeah, those were your words, I'm sorry. I was listening. That's what you said to the Parliament. Now, is it true you didn't know what the programme consisted of? And the second point, Mr. Pitella, on behalf of the Socialists, suggested that the security fund could be used. I know that would involve a treaty change. Do you think that's a valid idea? Or would you go so far as to suggest a treaty change to achieve it? Well, we're currently arranging this investment package. Now, had I said, well, you said I said, that I don't know exactly what's going to be in this investment package. That's due to the fact that we're currently working on constructing it. So I can't tell you where the money's coming from. People often ask me that question. I'm not in a position to explain in detail all the allocations of funds. This will be done in such a fashion that the European Council can decide on it in December. And in the interim, I won't be commenting on the various avenues and channels of funding. There are a number of them. And if I highlight one at the expense of the others, obviously, well, I have enough experience not to get involved in those games, and it's not a question of games anyway.
Mais il n'a pas demandé la parole. Il n'a pas demandé la parole.
C'est la première fois qu'il est dans une salle sans qu'il me demande quelque chose.
Well, it's the first time he's been in this room without asking a question.
Ah bon. Faible.
S'il vous plaît. Voilà, je suis ici. Oui.
I'm over here. President. François Baudonnet. I'm on your right. France 2. When you spoke to the Parliament in July, you promised that the European Commission would fight against tax fraud and tax avoidance and social dumping. Now, in October, the European Commission has opened an in-depth investigation as to whether the Luxembourg authorities had given tax advantages to multinational companies. And I'd like to know whether, as President of the European Commission, you do not put the institution you're currently in charge of as judge and party to the case. Well, had I known that that was the 4.5 question, you wouldn't have asked it. Not because it's awkward, but I just haven't got the time to give a comprehensive answer, and there's a lot to say on that. As far as the principle is concerned, the Commission is perfectly entitled, was entitled and is entitled to launch these type of investigations, and it's not only an investigation of Luxembourg. Now, the Commission will do its work. I will not get involved in this. It's the duty of the Competition Commissioner, who must be given great freedom of action and comment, and I will not stand in the way. That would be unacceptable. I have some ideas on the topic, but I'll keep my counsel.
I firstly thank Mr. Juncker because he is giving me this chance that your spokesman didn't want to give to me. Okay. A very quick political question in Italian, please.
He is asking me 4 times per day to be silent. So this time you were his victim. You put this in Italian?
Very quick political question. In relazione alle dichiarazioni. If you want, I go in English, so we'll solve the problem. I wanted just to know, referring to the statement that you said yesterday in the Parliament, if Vice President Titmans, Vice President Mogherini and Commissioner Moscovici backed your position, and if you were speaking on behalf of the Commission or as your personal point of view.
But first, I'm not asking the friends you have mentioned before opening the mouth. I'm totally capable to have my own ideas. So I'm not asking them if yes or no they do agree. The Commission was attacked. And so I gave an answer as the President of the Commission. And I had the feeling this morning that this was largely shared, if not unanimously.
Corinne?
Oui,
Thomas.
Yeah.
On a dit ça.
Et puis je m'arrête. Hein.
And then that's it. Thomas?
Thomas Meyer vom Standard. Ich möchte mich dem Kollegen anschließen.
Well, I'd like to join with colleagues in saying that we think it's very nice to see. We hope to see you down here more often. But I have two specific questions. One, the US elections. After this latest result, is this going to be a negative impact on TTIP? Is that going to put all of that back? Secondly, Ukraine and Russia. Yesterday I read that you personally attach a lot of importance to this particular question. Are you going to Ukraine yourself, and do you think you'll have the opportunity of meeting with President Putin in order to try and, as it were, reduce the level of tension? Your first question on the US. Well, I haven't seen the results in detail, though I understand that Republicans have won, which we rather suspected already a week ago. I don't know what the impact is likely to be, but I can't imagine it's going to have any serious impact upon the TTIP negotiation timetable. We negotiate with the government, we negotiate with the country, and that's completely independent of the colour of the ruling parties. So I think this is a very, very important negotiation, not least from a growth point of view, and I'm sure we'll have every opportunity of making our position clear around the negotiation table. Yes, I will be going to the Ukraine. I don't yet know when, but I think. But I promised the Ukrainian president I will be. My first bilateral outside the EU will be in Kiev, and I will be in receipt of an official invitation. I think you've got to be very careful about this, because too many cooks can spoil the broth. And there are people who are responsible for this in other institutions. But I think it's important that at least we speak to people. You've mentioned two important people to speak to.
Thank you all.